Hello, everyone. Welcome to NOXTalks, our weekly show here at Equinox Esports where we talk about all things esports. My name's Ariel Ari Panda West, and I am the Director of Communications and Community here at Equinox Esports. I am joined by Connor.
Hey, what's up? How's everyone doing?
Well. Goopy Canoopy Canootson.
Yeah, that's me.
It's such a tongue twister.
It's tough.
I love
tough.
it. Today is a special episode of NOXTalks because we are joined today by the Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt.
Mayor, thanks for being on.
Hello.
We really appreciate it. This is amazing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us. We really genuinely do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, super cool. So basically we're going to jump right into it. Basically introduce yourself to the stream and the fans and maybe tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your brief political career, your hobbies, etc.
All right, sure. Well, as you said, I'm David Holt. I'm the mayor of Oklahoma City. We are America's 25th largest city. And I've lived here off and on my whole life. I was born and raised here, went to Putnam City schools. And then I ended up going to D.C. for college at George Washington. I worked out of college. I worked for the Speaker of the House. I worked for President Bush in the White House for 2 years. I came back home, and I ended up landing at City Hall as my predecessor's chief of staff in 2006. And that was really, at that point I had worked really at every level of government, even all the way up to the White House. But I found that City Hall was maybe the most rewarding place, and you could really make an impact, and you could really feel your impact. And that happened to be the time period when we got the Thunder here, and we passed Maps 3, and so it was very consequential. And it was definitely the time period when it felt like our city sort of blossomed, and the world sort of noticed us, and we felt like we were finally a real American city. So I did that for about 5 years, and then I was elected to the Oklahoma Senate in 2010, did that for almost 8 years until I was elected mayor of Oklahoma City. So I returned back to City Hall after 8 years at the Capitol, and it's been wonderful. I mean, it's I think, a unique opportunity to be mayor of a big city, and especially your hometown.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma City has got such a great track record, and we've kind of done everything we can and hopefully have been successful in keeping that going. Maps 4's passage a year and a week ago is certainly part of that. And we know now that for the next 10 years, we'll have another $1 billion of investment coming into our city. And that has created the atmosphere. That 25 years of Maps investments have created the atmosphere for all the cool things that are happening. And your industry, your show, your probably very existence here in Oklahoma City are all testaments to that. Nobody says, well, I live in Oklahoma City because of Maps, or I live in Oklahoma City because of the Thunder. I mean, unless you're a Thunder player. But, most people do, in fact, choose to live places, whether consciously or subconsciously, based on the idea that things are happening there, that investments are being made, that, and it just all just sort of synergizes with itself, and one thing leads to the next. And when I see young people like you, and when I see cutting edge industries like esports, I think, that wouldn't be here if not for Maps. It just wouldn't. And because we would still be this city that's just running in place that we were back in the 1980s.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
all of that is what, I guess there's my life story and a little bit of Oklahoma City's story mixed into it.
For sure.
But they are, I guess, at this point, fairly well linked.
Yeah.
And you asked about hobbies, so the mayor of Oklahoma City has to have another job to fund this one. So really, being the mayor of Oklahoma City is probably my hobby. We don't pay our mayors a living wage, but I also have a family and 2 kids, and so all of that keeps me busy. You could be digging for any evidence that I'm a gamer. I probably am going to fall short of your hopes and expectations there. All of my gaming is in the past, but I was, and I guess still am, a proud owner of a Nintendo. Ooh. And certainly
Classic.
spent a lot of time on that in my childhood.
Yeah.
And beat Mario Brothers and all that stuff.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. But that's about the extent of it. I did not keep up with it as the years went on. I don't know if this qualifies in your world exactly, but my kids play Minecraft all the time.
Nice.
No,
It's a great
Minecraft
game.
totally qualifies.
Minecraft's a really great game. You get to create.
All right, I
make
just didn't know if
things.
you weren't killing something, if that
Oh,
still is
no.
okay.
No,
Actually,
absolutely. No, and games like Minecraft are this great thing that that they're all about creation and creativity, expression.
Yeah.
So they're great games for kids to grow up playing. I think you can learn a lot of good lessons. So
Yeah.
excellent choice. I mean, that's a great thing to be doing. So it's great.
yeah, they do that on the iPad or on the Mac. We haven't bought a system really for them to do it. We may give in eventually, but not this Christmas.
Yeah, that's all right. So I mean, first of all, I grew up in Norman. I live in Oklahoma City proudly. For those watching, Equinox Esports is situated here in Oklahoma City. So we are interviewing kind of our mayor and someone we feel is connected to what we're doing here. So personally for me, growing up, playing video games and that being a part of my life, it's really exciting to hear about this modern frontier idea and this kind of initiative, because this is going to help invest in the things that I'm excited about as a young person. And so I think that sentiment is shared by a lot of people like us. So we're just very excited about things moving forward and really appreciate the initiatives you've had, Mayor Holt. So
Yeah, for sure.
Just wanted to express that to get things started. So
No, for sure. Yeah, the growth of Oklahoma City has been massive, even for me. Like, I grew up in like the Tulsa area too, so like now I've transplanted over here, and now I'm in the 405. But can you tell us a little bit more about the modern frontier? Like, what does that vision mean to you and the growth of Oklahoma City?
Yeah. So, and for your listeners, what you're referencing is the brand that the Chamber and the Convention and Visitors Bureau introduced this last year, a couple of weeks before the pandemic. So it's been hard to hard to probably see that brand really reach its most effective level. Obviously we've had very little visitors in the last 10 months, but I think what it means is, this was obviously a part of the world that didn't have cities. It certainly had a very strong indigenous culture and presence for many centuries, but it wasn't until April 22nd, 1889, that the white man arrived and founded a city, and that is what it is. I mean, that's always going to be an issue of tension, but it is something that happened, and it is a unique way to found a city because it all happened in one day in a land run. We went from essentially no one living in this part of the world where I sit today, downtown Oklahoma City, to 10,000 population overnight. So, that sort of frontier spirit that founded this city is certainly something that many would feel we have endured, that has endured all these years. What I think of Oklahoma City and the idea of the frontier or pioneers and what that means today, what I notice in Oklahoma City is that, much like the arrival of people in 1889, you can kind of immediately ascend to positions of responsibility, positions of impact in our city, as long as you're willing to put in the work. I don't see barriers to entry in Oklahoma City that you see in an older American city like Philadelphia or New York. It doesn't really seem to matter too much who your parents were here. It seems as if you're willing to put in some work, you can be on the boards of the big nonprofits that you're passionate about. You can run for office. I mean, so my dad is a school teacher. My mom's a social worker. I'm not the son of mayors. I'm not wealthy. But I got here faster than anybody had in 100 years. I'm the youngest mayor we've had since the 1920s. So I look at myself as a reflection of that ability to be a pioneer, that ability to be to make an impact quickly. The people who arrived here in April of 1889, somebody had to be the mayor, somebody had to be the town council, somebody had to be the publisher of the newspaper. All of those jobs had to be filled overnight. Mm-hmm. And it was a blank slate for anybody who arrived, regardless of what their background had been somewhere else. And I kind of feel like that still endures here in Oklahoma City. And so that's a little bit of what the modern frontier means to me, that there's still so much opportunity in Oklahoma City to have fun, but also to be an entrepreneur, to create a show like you guys are. It's still a blank slate, and that's a fun thing, I think, for a 20-something and a 30-something to know that they can make an impact. I mean, you can have fun, sure. There's so much to do in New York and LA, and those are great cities, but you're kind of lost in an ocean there. Whereas here, you know, you can very quickly be at the center of the universe, and it still matters. We're still big enough. You know, we're the 25th largest city in the United States, so it still matters here. And even though you may feel like, you know, well, sure, I could be a big deal in a small town, but this isn't a small town. It's a big city, but it still has many of the virtues of a small town, and that's a great combination.
Yeah,
for sure.
And this is so much of the reason why we're excited to talk to you, Mayor Holt, is because we feel like, you know, at Equinox Esports, we very much view esports as bringing a lot of the same energy and a lot of that same kind of passion that the modern frontier really represents, because esports is very much this pioneering industry. For those watching that may not be familiar with esports, you know, it's basically competitive video gaming. We think of these players as basically like athletes, and you know, this is something that is primarily in the U.S. lived on the West Coast.
Yep.
And so,
LA very heavily.
Yeah. It is international to the sense that it's in Europe, it's heavily in Korea and China and Japan as well. But this is a force that we very much bring. We're kind of bringing like what the Thunder brought here.
Yeah.
This kind of small market, you know, passion, energy that we think we can be a team at Equinox that can compete with, you know, these major, you know, organizations that are, you know, valuations coming in at like $300 and $400 million.
The Cloud9s, the TSMs, the 100 Thieves. Like, it's cool to like have that feeling that we're like putting Oklahoma City almost on a global market right now, like with Equinox Esports and our professional Valorant team and stuff like that. So it's cool to fit into the way that Oklahoma City is developing. It feels like the perfect fit for us. So
we feel like, again, we are at home here in the city. Like you said, this is a place where we can trailblaze. We feel very like enabled to do so. You know, the market is open and there is desire for innovation and change and like advancing industries. And I think that's so much of, again, what you kind of represented as our mayor. So it's just exciting to get to talk to you and bounce these ideas off of you. So we know that esports might be something a little bit new for you, but how do you think that maybe, you know, what we're doing at Equinox, the industry as a whole, whatever you might say, how do you think that fits in to the modern frontier, and how can we better be, you know, allies of the city and of advancing things here in the city? Like, what can we do as an organization to kind of help grow Oklahoma City, make it a place people want to
elevate.
live?
Yeah. Well, I think I definitely want to see more visibility for your industry here in Oklahoma City. And I think when people are doing things again, we need to get some events here. We need to get that type of thing happening here in Oklahoma City. We're building, well, not building. I mean, we've basically completed our new convention center that will open in the next 3 months. You know, I'm told that they're going to have better technology there than obviously we did in the old one, which had been built originally in the 1970s, which should lend itself better to hosting some esports events at our new convention center. You know, in the years ahead, we're going to build a multi-purpose stadium. I mean, I'm aware that there are esports events around the world that draw, you know, thousands and thousands of people. So that could be another opportunity created by a venue. But the bottom line is, I mean, I know that you guys are here. I know there's club teams at the universities. I know there's scholarships and even staff at the universities here in the Oklahoma City Metro. And we've got to kind of, I think, take it to the next level in the public consciousness. And that probably means getting some events here. And those conversations are ongoing. It's just obviously nobody's really doing anything right now of any sort. But we've got somebody over at our Convention and Visitors Bureau who works just on sports events named Sue Hollenbeck, and I talked to her this morning. And, you know, she's definitely conscious of the esports industry and wants to see us start to draw some of those events here at Oklahoma City. And I think that'll go a long way towards elevating your profile. But you guys are already doing the work. I mean, I'm just kind of thrilled, really, today to see to see that something like this is already happening in Oklahoma City, because I get it. I know this is a fast-growing industry. It's something that young people are very interested in, are participating in, are buying tickets to. And it took us a long time to catch up to professional sports. We didn't have a pro sports team until the rest of the cities had one for 60 years. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, but we don't want to be that far behind of this trend. We want to be a leader in it to the extent we can for a city our size.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we have like a huge opportunity here in the Midwest too, because esports hasn't been fully realized. So we are kind of like the wild, wild west here. Like sure, LA and California, even New York, and like the southern parts of Texas, they're pretty established, but like we have a pretty big opportunity here. And a lot of it, I think I like to promote about esports is the accessibility of it. It doesn't matter your gender, your race, if you have any, physical ailments, like esports could be for everybody. And it like lends itself to an inclusive community as in general. So, super excited to grow that here in Oklahoma and be kind of, a pioneer in the modern frontier of esports in the Midwest. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we don't want to take too much of your time up, Mayor. Any kind of, parting words you have for maybe esports fans out there watching that may be fans of our show, live here in the city or just in the Midwest in general? Any just parting words for Oklahoma City residents in general? We've come out of like 2 ice storms the past month.
Oh my gosh.
Obviously, COVID's gone. It's been wild. It's been wild everywhere. But
it's been a wild year.
Just any kind of parting words you have before we let you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been obviously 2020 for all of us has been a rough year, and it's just one thing after another, but we're very hopeful for 2021, and we look forward to being in a position to welcome visitors. I mean, as you've alluded to, many of your listeners may not be Oklahoma City residents, so we definitely welcome your listeners to Oklahoma City if they've never been.
They should come.
We've opened Scissortail Park about 15 months ago. That combined with our convention center and the new Omnia Hotel that's going to open really creates one of the finest meeting destination places in the country. But whether you're coming here or contemplating a meeting here or just coming here as a weekend visitor, there's a whole lot to check out. So we certainly, I wouldn't miss that opportunity to have that advertisement. This is a city that many people who visit here think is just a pass-through destination, and they find that they can have a wonderful weekend or full week here, that there's plenty to do. And so, and there's so much more still coming. I mean, I think of Oklahoma Contemporary, which opened the week of the pandemic, starting in March. And so many people have not had the opportunity to see that yet. You've got the First Americans Museum, which is truly like a Smithsonian level museum about Native Americans and indigenous people. That's going to open in 2021. So this city's got a lot going on, either as a visitor or as somebody who might even be thinking of relocating here. We certainly invite that. And then more specifically from the perspective of esports, I'm certainly interested in this. I know our city's Convention and Visitors Bureau leadership is interested in it. And I hear rumors and conversations all the time about our universities and other entrepreneurs that want to explore this industry. So I think there's definitely fertile ground here, and we see what's going on in other places. I see the news of the Arlington Stadium and all of that, and these are all things that I think Oklahoma City should at least talk about and be a part of that conversation. So thank you for being trailblazers in that regards and making sure that it's on the radar of city leaders as we move forward.
For sure.
Of course. Absolutely. I mean, Mayor Holt, you're the youngest mayor in 100 years in the city, like you said.
Pretty cool.
First Native American mayor. You're doing a lot of things to trailblaze here. We at Equinox hope we can do a lot of that same thing, bring a lot of that same energy for fans out there. So, again, we thank you so much for your time. Like this really does mean a lot from a local Oklahoma person to be able to talk to the city's mayor. Like Ariel was talking about accessibility and inclusivity. This is a lot. This means a lot that we can talk to our mayor about something like this and our passions. So Again, a lot of really exciting stuff going on. This call is very exciting to me, so we hope it's been great for our listeners too.
Yeah.
Ariel, any last words from you?
No, again, thank you so much for your time. We super appreciate you coming on and talking to us and our listeners here. Other than that, we're going to throw it to a Be Right Back screen, guys. We'll come back with just Connor and myself. We'll play some teamfight tactics and talk a little bit about the upcoming tournament and some other cool esports news. Awesome. So thanks again, Mayor Holt. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
All right. GG Nox, keep it up. Thanks. You keep it up. Everyone in chat, keep it up. Also, tell someone you love them today.
Do it, please.
Yep. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. You know, it was a cool stream for us, cool stream for me. I hope if you're an OKC local, it was cool for you. So
yeah.
We will be off next week because it's Christmas Eve.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Have a good Christmas. We'll touch base on the New Year's Eve stream. We'll see what's going on. Mm-hmm. Probably will be on, but we'll let you know.
We'll see.
But that's all I got.
All right, chat. Peace.
Bye.